Okay, good morning, everyone. We're live. Thank you all for being here in person or via Zoom. Convene the Criminal Justice and Public Safety Committee meeting for Monday, July 18th to order. We have a full agenda as usual, and I'd like to achieve completion of that in the time allotted so that we can be respectful of the committee's schedule that follow us. The first order of business is to approve the minutes of the June 21st meeting. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to review them. Accept the motion by Supervisor McDevitt, second by Supervisor Driscoll. Any discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. The first department on the agenda today is the district attorney. Our district attorney is here. It's got one item. It's a large packet, but it's very detailed. The request is to apply for a 2022-2023 Criminal Justice Discovery Reform Grant. District Attorney?
Thank you. Yeah, the packet's large because in the application, they list every county sort of in the state. We're very fortunate. If you look at the opportunity here, it's $339,000, a little more than that for the county. We got it last year. It was maybe 16,000 less roughly. This goes, as you've heard me talk about the discovery reforms that kicked in. These are monies the state now is, through a lot of lobbying, agreeing that they need to help fund that. And so this money is, according to the grant, said, please note, given the intent of this important legislation, which is the discovery legislation, counties are expected to prioritize funding for their DA's office as well as for local police departments and sheriff's offices. And it's based on average arrests. Last year when we applied, the monies were the sheriff's office and the DA's office. We were able to cumulatively, frankly, we can go way above that figure, but we're seeking permission to apply. The way it worked last year, and I think will this year, it doesn't go into our budget or the sheriff's budget. It goes into the general fund to help address those expenses that are created by the discovery reform. So we're seeking permission to apply again.
Terrific. Thank you for applying for this. I'm sure it'll be very helpful for you. Motion to move this forward to the board. Supervisor McDevitt, second. Supervisor Driscoll. Any discussion or questions for the district attorney? Anybody online? No. Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much.
Great, we'll get started on that.
Appreciate it. Good luck to you. Second is the probation agenda. You have one item. The request is to amend Resolution 265 of 2022 to increase the salary of administrative secretary to grade 8, step 3, retroactive to Shelley Clark's start date in this position, which was June 27th, 2022. Yes, sir.
Yes, good morning and thank you. I brought this to committee May 23rd. Actually, what we did is we created a new position, administrative secretary, to replace an outdated one, principal steno. When Michelle Rodriguez left, we promoted Shelley. The intent was to have her start at step 3, grade 8, which the salary would be $48,366. But I believe as it came through on the resolution, it was only the base salary, which is 43 something. So my request, and I think the intent of the committee, was to start her at grade 3. Shelley's been with the county for 4 years. Not only is she taking a new role as administrative secretary, she's also carried some other duties from a previous job with our department, namely restitution, which is a big deal. We do about $200,000 in restitution, so it's a big financial obligation. So she's taken that on as well as her new duties. Shelley's a mid-level manager. She supervises the clerical unit. So when we talk about retaining employees, these are the mid-level managers that you want to keep. I know we recently gave increases to the unions. If I could put my 2 cents in, I have managers now who are going to be making very little more than some of the senior probation officers. So my request would be, and I'm sure that's being reviewed, so the managers' salaries would increase the same. We can't be like the NBA where we have players making more than coaches. So that's my 2 cents on the whole deal.
Great. Thank you. All right. Motion to move this request forward to the board. Supervisor McDevitt. Second. Supervisor Driscoll. Any questions, discussion, follow-up for probation director? Supervisor McDevitt.
Just an observation. I totally agree with you, Bob. It just seems like we have a little bit of catching up to do in terms of where the county's going with employee salary. So makes sense as far as you're concerned, and I appreciate the analogy in terms of what you're talking about.
Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, sir. Here, appreciate it. Next on the agenda is the emergency services. We have our director, Anne Marie Mason. Couple items. The first request is a resolution request to approve updates to the public access defibrillation program for Warren County. Anne Marie?
Yep, so a copy of the updated CAD program is in your packets. And the only thing that we changed on it this time was to change the actual mailing address for Mountain Lakes. They are now taken or will be administered through Fort Drum's program up there.
Motion to move this request forward. Supervisor McDevitt, second. Supervisor Driscoll, any discussion or questions for Anne Marie? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Second item is a request resolution to create a community emergency response team known as CERT and approve the CERT policies and procedures. Anne Marie?
Yeah, so we have been working to create a CERT program in Warren County. We worked a lot with Larry Ellman and his team and to go over the program that we put in place. So there is in your packets of policies and procedures that we were able to come up with. And if we, putting a CERT team together is going to assist in mobilizing the community, it'll foster citizen preparedness and awareness, it'll help build resilience to hazards and disasters. And that's kind of what we really want to do, is build a more resilient community. So this will definitely help us with that.
Terrific. Motion to move this request forward. Supervisor Driscoll, second. Supervisor Bramer. Any questions, discussion on the item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. You have two discussion items, right? The first is information, the upcoming Red Cross Citizens Preparedness Training, which is July 21st of this year.
So that is coming up. I know we had it on our meeting last month, but I just wanted to remind everybody again that it's coming up this Thursday. It's going to be 6 to 8 p.m. and it will be in the Human Services Building. And currently we've got 30 attendees signed up for it. So it should be a pretty good program.
Terrific. Any questions on that, Anne Marie? Next discussion item is an update on the World University Games tabletop exercise.
So we came together a couple of weeks ago with New York State Police headed this up. They did a tabletop exercise to go over several scenarios that could happen when this event takes place. We did one that was fire in the Great Escape Lodge, which is where the athletes that are going to be competing at Boar Mountain will be staying at the Great Escape Lodge. So we wanted to make sure that that area was covered. They also did a scenario where there was an accident on Route 28, which would be blocking the road and would be involving one of their athletes' buses. So those are just an example of a couple of the things that they went through. And just to give you an idea of how big the event is, they indicated that it could be 2 times the size of the 1980 Winter Olympics. So there's going to be a lot of people up north. The event is January 12th to the 22nd of 2023. It's covering quite a few counties up north: St. Lawrence County, Essex County, Clinton County, and us. We're now plus the lodge down here. So just wanted to
All
keep
right.
that.
Terrific. Thank you for the update. Any questions on that? I have one unrelated question, Anne Marie. Can you give us a status of the community alert notification system that you've talked about a few times?
Sure. So we're currently looking at having a company develop an app for us. And the app would be helpful for citizens as well as tourists that are coming into the area. It's just something that would be helpful to people to know what's happening in the area, especially if they're not familiar with things and where to go and where they can find some help and things of that nature. The app also gives us the ability to do more community preparedness and offer more things out to the community. So where we are right now with it is I do have a proposal that the company has put together for us. And what I'm doing at this particular point is looking at an ARPA application. I did put an application in for funding for the first year. The last 2 years, we would use our SHSP grant for the last 2 years. It's a 3-year contract.
Thank you. Any questions on that? All right, if nothing else for Emery, thank you very much for being here. Appreciate it. Next is the Public Defender's Office. We have our public defender with us. We've got 3 requests. First is notice of intent to fill a vacant position, which is the Assistant Public Defender 8. Right?
Thank you, honorable committee members. It's unfortunate that our office is losing a very young, very competent, wonderful asset to our office. She's resigned and will be moving in late August to a state job, the Office of Indigent Legal Services. In order to fill that vacancy, we need permission from this committee to post that vacancy. Request 2 is simply to housekeeping to bring the salary down to entry level. That I would pause and ask for any comments.
Okay. Motion by Supervisor Dickinson, second. Supervisor McDevitt, any questions, discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Second request is to increase or decrease the salary of a non-union position, which is the Assistant Public Defender 8.
Again, that's in
Same.
conjunction with number 1. It's just to reduce the salary down to entry level.
Okay, motion Supervisor Dickinson, second. Supervisor Bramer, any questions, discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Last item is request new contract with Indigent Legal Services, which is ILS for distribution number 13.
Again, this is just basically a housekeeping order. This is grant funds that we've been receiving periodically from year to year. Distribution number 13 is ready to be contracted. We would like permission to follow through with that. We would obviously have to follow the contract in the county attorney's office, but it's something that's required to continue ILS funding for grant 13.
Okay, thank you. Motion by Supervisor Dickinson. Second, Supervisor McDevitt. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Any other discussion items, sir?
No, thank you, committee members.
Thank you for appearing. Appreciate it. All right. Last on our agenda is the Sheriff's Office. We have the Undersheriff with us this morning. Morning, sir. And we have a couple of requests. The first is to create 3 new positions: Patrol Officer 71, Patrol Officer 72, and Patrol Officer 73. We've discussed this for the last couple of meetings, and we've had executive sessions about this. So hopefully we're ready to hear where we are. Move forward. Yes, sir.
So these are full-time dedicated patrols for the municipal center complex. We are currently working on different plans, different ideas to how we deploy these folks and where they deploy, meetings at night, meetings during the day. So there'll be certain meetings that these officers will be attending.
Okay, are we ready to move this forward? Supervisor McDevitt, a motion second. Supervisor Driscoll. Any discussion or questions from the committee members? First of all, Supervisor Bramer.
Sorry, Jack. Got in there before you. I guess my question is, if we're still working on the details between now and if we pass this today, can we have that laid out? And I would prefer to see it in a memorandum of understanding between the Board of Supervisors and the Sheriff's Office as to how these officers are going to be deployed and how we, as the Board of Supervisors, may be able to ask for their assistance at night meetings or, for instance, Saturdays, like the tax foreclosure auction, to make sure that we have the campus covered, if this is the goal of these 3 officers that we're adding.
I don't know if we would need an MOU between because we're right here. That's a possibility. I will talk to the sheriff about that. It's an ever-changing. I understand that the county or the Board of Supervisors has asked maybe Buildings and Grounds to look at some other security. So we're kind of, they're looking at something. We're not quite, we didn't know that. I've spoken with a few people, and we're going to go ahead and talk to them about what they're trying to deploy, where they're going to deploy it, what they're going to do. So it's an ever-changing evolution, I guess. So we'll see how the best it fits for the county and for this building.
I guess just one of my concerns is that if these are, these are 3 officers, they're going to be regular patrol officers. And my understanding is that when they're not being utilized here, that they could be elsewhere. So I just want to memorialize that the purpose of adding these 3 was to help the municipal center. And maybe we take, maybe they need to go to off-campus locations too to help out with something. I don't know what. But like you said, things could change over time. So that's my reason for asking for some sort of MOU between the agencies, departments.
Thank you, Supervisor Diamond.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My questions are similar to the supervisor from Glens Falls. These 3 positions, are these positions going to come directly from the academy?
No, these will be senior officer positions. These will be folks that are already officers that are already employed here, and they'll be senior officers. They'll be offered to the senior officers first.
Okay. So as time accumulates and goes on, when they accumulate vacation, sick, personal time, my estimate would be that we're going to be covering that with time and a half with current patrol officers, correct?
That not necessarily true, sir. No, that we could cover it depending on what the staffing on the road is at that point. We could have, if there's an extra person on the road, we can have that filled in.
But we will cover for their time off.
We'll have to cover for their time.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
One way or the other.
Yes.
Whether it's overtime or whether we pull somebody off the road, it's out of patrol division to cover those vacancies that are going to occur here, because your senior people are going to probably have 4 weeks vacation, an abundance of sick time, vacation time, personal time. And I was just wanted to get clear on how the coverage was going to be going forward with these senior patrol officers.
Yes, sir. I understand.
Supervisor Driscoll.
Thank you, Chairman. And good morning, Terry. The Needham report also spoke about some other recommendations as far as throughout the campus of the municipal center. Additional cameras, additional emergency buttons and all those types of things. How do those recommendations play into the 3 positions that we're looking to fill? Is that the responsibility of the Sheriff's Department? Is that the responsibility of Board of Supervisors, IT? I guess I'm just looking for that type of an answer.
Well, it looks like from the perspective of the panic buttons, the panic alarms are going directly to the sheriff's office. I might be misspeaking a little bit, but it looks like we've tested them out a little bit last week, and they're coming right to the sheriff's office. So we can deploy and or dispatch as needed from there. So we actually tried it right here in Samantha Hogan's desk, and so we had an alarm, came up, showed everybody at all the stations here in the municipal center. It showed, Mike's done a great job with that, showed exactly where the alarm was coming from, went to our dispatch, and we were able to work from there. So that works out pretty well for us right now. Additional cameras, I don't believe we have cameras. We don't have the camera idea set up. We have put new cameras on our building. We know that OCS has several cameras on the outside of the building. If we move into cameras, that would be something that would go forward from, I believe, IT. Okay.
Get the, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
County Attorney and then Supervisor McCown.
I just wanted to let the committee members know that following the last meeting, we did prepare a proposed resolution that would address or was seeking to address the concerns that were raised at the last committee meeting, that we did provide that through the sheriff's department and it was approved. And unfortunately, it does not appear to be in the submission from the sheriff's department. But the intent of the resolution was to clarify off the top of my head that the coverage would be for weekdays when the municipal center was open. The best I can do is I can email that out to the committee members after this meeting this morning. But I think it would have helped and provided a conversation point for addressing the concerns that I'm hearing from the supervisors this morning about what the purpose of these 3 new officers would be and how would that be memorialized. It would be memorialized as part of the resolution, which was my understanding what the committee asked for.
We do have the resolution in your packet.
Oh, okay. Apologies. It looks like it's after the job description. So it's laid out, if you guys have in your, each of you have in your package, the last page for the creation of the new position laid out that it's for enhanced security requirements for both the main building and the human services building, and assigning law enforcement officers to each building during designated hours of operation to supplement existing security measures. And it does lay out as well that this committee is accepting and approving the request to create the 3 new positions, with 2 patrol officers being assigned to the main building and 1 to the human services building. That certainly doesn't answer all of the more fundamental day-to-day questions that the committee is asking. But my hope is that the committee members will, and the supervisors will agree that that will be sufficient in the resolution to ensure that going forward, there's dedicated patrol officers for these 2 main buildings.
Thank
I
you.
apologize. For some reason, I just didn't see it at that.
Okay, thank you. Tammy had something to add to that.
Yeah, just really just a housekeeping. The item on the resolution itself, it has an effective date of today. We can't do that without a board meeting because it requires, in order to create positions, requires 2/3 vote of the board. So the earliest you could take this up that it could be effective would be the extra board meeting. I believe that's actually a Friday this month, Friday, July 29th could be the next effective date, if you choose to take it up at that board meeting and
Okay.
not wait until the August.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor McGowan, you had a
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I would just like to stipulate the whole purpose of this is really for the county. And as this resolution states, it is be assigned to the county main building and a patrol officer being assigned to the county human service building. What does that mean, assigned? Does that mean they're going to physically be in the building around the premises?
They'll be physically on the premises. So we've had discussions, Sheriff LaFar and myself have had discussions about whether or not they need to roam around the building, take a lap around the building, just for general purpose, just to see if there's anything out there, or do they stand at a post continually? So we're back and forth with that. We anticipate having the 2 on campus. And right now, the sheriff has 1 in each building at a post. So I'd like to have that person be able to roam upstairs in this building and to take a lap around this building, for lack of a better term, take a look around the building, just to be sure everything is safe. There's not anything serious going on. I know we had some folks here, and it's not included in the package. We had some folks at the gas pump trying to pump gas on Friday. So that has to be looked at. So if they see it on a camera, they can go out.
Well, that brings, thank you, Terry. I just want to make sure the stipulation is that these patrol officers are, the assignment our buildings and our campus, or possibly any outpost at whatever particular need. Now, for the camera areas, I have brought up, really for safety purposes, all right, that we should get monitors to where they're stationed here in the buildings. So they could be watching as long as, instead of going from here over to there to come back to here, you know what I'm saying? Because seconds, as you know, seconds, you know, it take long stuff to happen within seconds. So, but I mean, that would help, you know, monitoring the, you know, every place that I go, when I was Queensbury picking up paperwork, they have someone, you know, not a patrol officer, but they do have security guards, but the cameras there with the multiple cameras for multiple screens, who's watching. You know, I think that's a key thing. Obviously, I've always questioned that pump business of cars that have been out there. I'm like, you know, it doesn't really look like a county vehicle, but yeah, I guess you need a key card. But I mean, what I just want to make sure is that the whole purpose of these patrol officers is to address our need and report, along with, you know, what cameras we need to have eyes all the way around. Now, unfortunately, I'm sure the public's gonna be a little offended as of when we did put up cameras in the hallways for our employees for safetyness. You know, there was a little bit of flack on that, and this stuff happens, but society is changing, and, you know, we want to just make sure, but when it says assigned, I want to physically assigned, not over here at the sheriff's office, you know.
These officers are assigned to these buildings. They're here on
They're
this
here.
campus, your
Right.
campus part. We
Just
don't
wanted
need
to
them
clear
at our
that up.
office. So We
You
don't
know,
need
and I
them to sit over
understand
there and
if
watch.
you ever needed something on the outside, they are the patrol officer, but you know, I was reading the script for the patrol officer, you know, it's. And the other question I have is, you're saying we're using senior officers. Now, right off the bat, to me, a senior officer has, you know, getting the top of the line pay. You know, is there a reason why, you know, we can't use someone, you know, I don't want to say it lower on the totem pole, but someone just coming in, our grads or something like that, or, you know what I'm saying? We're bringing in the top of the line. Is that a seniority thing? Because it's a kind of a on the way out the door retirement type thing. I'm concerning using the seniors where I think they're more valuable, having their eyes on the roads and out in the public, because they've seen it all for years. It's just a question, I don't know.
And that's part of the look at this. You have somebody that's senior that's able to speak with somebody that's having trouble with DMV, just for instance. They're able to converse with somebody. They've had experience on the road, where a younger officer may not have that experience, may be a little bit more short with that person. And it's not fair to somebody that comes on the road and then is at a security post here. It's not good for them. They need to grow, they need to learn, they need to experience patrol duties. They really do. It would not be good to have a young, brand new officer at a post here on a regular basis, on an assigned basis.
Well, I thank you for that, and that really, you know, makes some sense, but in my opinion, all right, DMV should have their own person out there answering the questions, but that's another situation. But I understand, they always ask when people come in, and no, so I like the answer. I was just wondering why we're using the top of the line, you know, where, you know, if we have something, you know, special, you know, plus the seniors are older. And, you know, one of the things that I heard from, and I'm not knocking the age, trust me. You know, but I asked her why we couldn't use the retired officers, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, one of the things came up due to the, you know, if you have to get physical. So just, these are,
Civil
you know,
service,
so
there's a
I
lot
would
of things
like
that
to
come
see
into play.
more of, you know, what your final plan is you know, before we go on to, you know, vote this on the full board, you know, what is what do you call it there?
They, if I could just interrupt for 1 second, so these folks will be senior officers. They'll bid on first. They'll have that opportunity to take that assignment and, or to take this assignment. They will be here. And that's the idea behind it. We want that campus security here. In the packet, we added a few things, a few of the calls that have come in over the past year. And there are other things that happen on this campus. There are a lot more folks on this campus now than ever. And we between these two buildings.
What do you think of, and I'm sorry for taking up the time on this, and I know you're shaking your head, but we got to get this done and get it done right, correctly. What do you think about having the monitors at the desk where these officers are standing so they can monitor all the cameras around? As in, it should memorize, you know, quicker response.
I think that Human Services does have a set of cameras that are outside of the building, show the outside of the building and some of the inside hallways. And I believe there are some in this building. If I'm correct.
Everything's monitored now.
Yeah, everything's on
They have
monitor.
3 guard stations, they've accessed all cameras in the whole building.
All right, I just want to make sure, you know, big screens, you know, so.
Yeah, they could be bigger screens.
All right,
48 inch.
Terry,
No, sorry,
No, no.
sorry, Dennis, I don't find this humorous. This is something
I
that we're
don't find it
working
humorous
for.
either, Brad. You've gone on and on about the same thing. They've done a great job. They're ready to get started. They won't know the answer.
Well, you know, a lot of things have happened and they
Was
go
I
on moving
speaking or
quickly
was I
like this.
speaking?
All right. Okay, all right, everybody's had an opportunity to discuss it. The important issue is that this is being recorded and then some of the side conversations in the back aren't being picked up. So I would ask you please one at a time to speak. Are there any, Supervisor McDevitt, you had a question?
Thank you. I just had maybe a question and observation. I think one of the issues that has not been discussed in this meeting is something that obviously is occurring nationally. On a national average, there is a shooting in this country every third day. This is unique. It is unusual. We put our faith in our sheriff, an elected position to take care of us, to keep us safe. Would I, as a supervisor, based on what's happening nationally, be shocked if there was a shooting on our campus? I would not be shocked. It just the nature of the terrible world we seem to be living in today. But at the end of the day, the sheriff's responsibility is to keep these buildings safe. It's to keep all of us safe. And we have to give him the opportunity to prove that he can do that. And that's what he's been elected to do. So unusual. And it's just it's a terrible thing, what is happening in our country, right now. So again, shootings, it's just part of the world we live in. So, thank you, Terry.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Supervisor Bramer.
Having had a chance to look at the proposed resolution, I would like to know a little bit more about the designated hours of operation. Is that business hours of those particular buildings? And that doesn't address then the nights and weekends when we're not technically business hours, like the DMV isn't open, but certainly DSS workers are there. And we have other, nurses work on the weekends. Is this addressing any of that, or is this only during business hours? And again, does this allow the Board of Supervisors any leeway to ask for these officers to be assigned during other than business hours?
I can address the resolution and then maybe the undersheriff can address the other times. We had a conversation with the county administrator about talking with department heads and re-looking at hours of operation Monday through Friday so that they would fall closer in line with a single officer being stationed here and what that duty time would be, so that we wouldn't, so it's not trying to cover 9.5 hours a day, but closer to 8 hours a day of operating time. And that's really a preliminary matter that the county administrator is looking at and that I've discussed with him in order to ensure that there is coverage while the public is able to access the building, which was the primary focus in drafting the resolution. As far as outside of one officer's shift, I would leave that to the undersheriff to respond to.
Supervisor Leggett.
Thank you, Chairman. Resource officers at schools tend to be retired, am I correct on?
Yes, sir.
That, but they would be facing the same type of threat that schools as these buildings would be. So retired officers for this building. One of the concerns was they might not be physically able to handle a situation, but would that for the schools?
It may be for the schools. We have our officers in our schools have been terrific, not getting off topic too much. But we do have an issue civil service wise with that. So if we have somebody here 40 hours a week and that, raises some questions on the civil service end. So we have that other way to.
Thank you. Terry, what estimated time when you'd be able to put this plan in place?
Well, we, once we get the board approval, we will look, we will put it out to our officers to who would like to come over, who would like to change their shift, explain to them what this is about, have them take a look around the building, get an idea on how we want this to function.
Okay, so there is time to refine the plan of operations.
I think the plan of operations will change weekly, to be honest with you, until we get a good look at this. Meetings at night, the tax auction on a Saturday.
There's a lot of public here for that. type of
Sure.
thing.
When the building's unlocked, that's we have to. We have. I came here on a Saturday for a civil service test. Normally they're not here; they're at our office, so there's some protection there, but that's an anomaly. So there's some times when it's going to change for sure. It's like Balloon Festival.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? All right, seeing none, we had a first, we had a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. The second request is ratifying our actions regarding submission of the application of a New York State Governor's Traffic Safety Committee grant and approval to accept grant funding and amend the county budget accordingly.
This is a grant application we apply for every year. It's $1,250 for the child passenger safety seat program that we run here at the sheriff's office.
Motion to move this for Supervisor Dickinson, second Supervisor Driscoll. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. I don't believe you have any other items. There's one discussion item, which is an Axon Roadshow open house that is coming up. Is it this week?
I have to look at my phone, but I think it's this Friday, yes.
Okay, any discussion about that?
If you have a second, and you'd like to stop over, the tractor trailer will be right over here in our parking lot. We'll have several other agencies over. They'll explain the new tasers, the new body cameras, and all the new Axon products that are for law enforcement. It's a very interesting roadshow. It's if you have any interest, just for come over for half an hour and take a look at that. It's very eye opening.
Any questions on that? Anything else on the sheriff? Okay, just to confirm on that second request, there is a budget amendment. It's in your packet as well. It's resolution request form number 7. Right. Do we need an action on it? Okay. All right. So we need, if you have a chance to look at that, we need a motion to move that forward for the budget. Supervisor McDevitt, second Supervisor Dickinson, all those.
Can I
all right.
just clarify whether the amount's 1,200 or 1,250?
1,250 is what I have on the sheet here.
Any questions on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Anything else, Under Sheriff?
No, sir.
Okay, good. Is there any questions, comments from anyone online? Seeing none, anything else from here?
I have a question for the editor. There's a lot of discussion about red flag laws and people that post on social media. Do we monitor? I mean, I would hope our sheriff's department monitors some of that I know we had an incident up in our community where the arrest hasn't been made yet, but it's supposed to be, but I understand this individual has been posting stuff on Facebook, I guess, and it just concerns me that, you know, so many of these shooters, for instance, had questionable posts or questionable backgrounds. And I was hoping that we take, when somebody goes out and is a bad actor and they act crazy or do something, we're watching what they put up after.
Sometimes on social media, it's very tough to monitor, not getting into any specifics, but we do the best we can with that. Okay. So we do monitor folks that make those threats. We talked about with Mr. Ullman's office quite a bit about the juvenile threats and things that happen there. But we take that very seriously. We look at it every day. I seem to look at it every day, and it's ever changing. Those things are changing, and we hope that those red flags and those ERPOs and TERPOs that have to come out, the emergency protection orders, hoping that we when necessary, we've been doing it for years now.
Supervisor Leggett.
Thank you for the undersheriff. I remember several years ago, the sheriff's office had a contract with a company that tracked all social media posts and things like that. Is that still current?
That is not current.
Okay.
Any other items for privilege of the floor? Seeing none, except a motion to adjourn. Supervisor Dickinson, second. Supervisor McDevitt, any discussion on a motion? All those in favor?
All right.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you all for appearing.